back to the Witch of Lupin Hollow YouTube channel. I'm Tanae, the Witch of Lupin Hollow, and I'll be your host. So today we're talking about how to practice witchy winter self-care. So self-care is important all the time, all year round, but I find that the way that we practice it is a little bit different depending on the season. In the summertime, I find for the most part, we don't need as much self-care because we're sort of like busy, we're in our heads, out doing things. We're not as focused on our own needs. But in winter, we have less going on, even though we're crazy busy, right, with the holidays and all of this. There's something about the sun going down earlier and it getting dark earlier when we just really feel more in our space, right? We spend more time at home. We spend more time alone sometimes. We spend more time just sort of getting grounded and thinking. There's this sense in the winter that not only are a lot of people suffering from like seasonal affective disorder as the nights get longer and we have darker days, we have, kind of drearier weather. A lot of people tend to suffer from more depression in the winter just from the season itself. But we also get more introspective in the winter. We want to spend more time, getting intimate with ourselves and others. Witchy winter self-care is specifically about, this coziness, this earthiness, this grounded energy, and also how we can sort of counteract some of the effects of seasonal affective disorder. To begin with, my first tip on witchy winter self-care is practicing hygge or some variation of it. So hygge, Hygge, is a very trendy concept that comes from Danish culture, and it's really about coziness. It's about creating spaces and experiences that are warm and cozy and comforting, especially during long, cold winter. Practicing hygge in the wintertime is really about making yourself feel comforted. So, it's about like having soft blankets on the bed. It's about, lighting candles that smell good and that keep you warm, or sitting by the fireplace. It's about drinking warm beverages, sipping on a cup of hot tea or cocoa. It's also about intimacy. It's about intimate conversation and spending time with people you love. So I actually have a post about how to hygge specifically for witches. There's a link below this video to take you to that blog post with even more ideas about this. So from a specifically witchcraft perspective, I recommend making your sacred space, whatever it might be, whether that's your altar or if you have like a meditation room, or maybe it's just like your bed or your bedroom, or whatever space is most sacred to you, making that feel really cozy and comforting for the wintertime. You'll add a bunch of candles to your altar, or you'll put, more candles on like your nightstand. And candles are a big part of this, that, burning candles is a very witchy thing to do to begin with. And it's a very hygge thing to do too. So it's a really powerful way to just, bring that warmth and sense of comfort into your space. It's also a great way to connect with the fire element. So each season is naturally ruled by a particular element. Winter is naturally ruled by the element of earth. It's the most grounded time of year. It's when the earth kind of exposes itself. Trees lose their leaves. Nothing is growing. It's like when we can see the soil the most. And metaphorically and emotionally, it's when we go within, we go down to our roots, right? We're not growing and producing. We're not fertile and abundant at this time of year. We are really going inside. And so when we're feeling too much in that earthy winter energy, when we're getting kind of depressed or we're getting, too isolated, you can counteract it by connecting with the fire element. So each element has an opposite, and the opposite of earth is fire. The fire element naturally rules the spring. So it's naturally ruling like what's coming next. So connecting with that energy, not so that we can, skip over winter, because the introspective, earthy time of winter is an important part of the cycle of the seasons and of our emotional experience of them. But looking forward to the spring and connecting with that fire energy can help us to sort of deal with some of the more difficult aspects of, that inward, introspective, quiet time of winter. Now, on the flip side, in the spring, when, maybe you get too in the fire energy and you're really focused on, outward growth and excitement and you're really energized, but then you start to burn out, you can counteract that by connecting back in with that earthy winter energy. And so, connecting with the opposite of each element is really powerful and is a really great way to sort of find balance in any season. But you can also focus on, outward expression. So, spending time with loved ones, yes, but like do something fun, do something that makes you laugh, do something that, brings you joy in this, darker time of the year. This is also, again, why the holidays happen this time of year, because it's when we want to light up the dark. We put lights on our houses, we bring trees into our houses and put lights on them. Most of the winter holidays are in some way a festival of light because we're lighting up the darkest time of the year. So you want to do the same thing emotionally, light yourself up, connect with that fire energy, and bring some joy into your life. The last thing that I want to talk about in terms of practicing witchy winter self-care this year and always is to really focus on light. Self-care in the wintertime, again, can often be about lighting up the dark, but it's not just about physical light. It's not just about emotional light. It's also about the literal concept of the phases of the sun, because the sun is going down, it's going away. We're seeing less of it. And so not only do we want to connect with the fire energy, but we also want to connect with that inner light, that sunlight that we're seeing less of. And so as a witch who's very in tune with those cycles, because we want to be very in tune with the cycles of astrology, with the cycles of the sun, with the cycles of the moon, when we're tapped into that energy, we can really flow with it. So on the one hand, you want to give yourself a lot of comfort in the wintertime. You want to connect with that fire energy and balance out, any depressive qualities that winter might have for you. It can also be a really powerful time to flow with the dark, to recognize that we are naturally seeing less sunlight, and that is part of nature. We're meant to have less light in our lives at this time. And that doesn't mean that we need to be depressed all the time. It doesn't mean that we need to live in, dark houses all the time. But it does mean that there's some quality of the dark that we are meant to experience. And so your self-care this time of year can be about, joy and lighting up the dark. But I invite you to also think about, how do we get in touch with the dark? How do we allow the dark to teach us and guide us? You could do this by doing some dream work, really spending some time in rest and sleep and allowing your body and your mind to explore the possibilities. You might work with herbs to help you sleep, things like lavender and valerian, things that, help us to reach that like deep REM sleep where we really are truly rested. Because this is the time of year when the earth rests. So it's also the time of year when we should rest. So, I want you to think about both your relationship with the light and how you can bring light into your life in the wintertime, but also how you can care for your relationship with the dark. So, your self-care practice should be a balance. It should be nurturing your joyful relationship with the light and nurturing your curious and introspective relationship with the dark. Comment below, tell me what kinds of witchy winter self-care practices you have in your life, and what your ideas about this relationship between the dark and the light might be. And also make sure that you follow this channel, like this video, so that you can be notified whenever I put out a new video, and I will see you next time.